let's talk about the quiet Trump voter, because all the polls say that he's sinking and sinking fast, but they all did last time too. However, this is the latest from the campaign trail, according to Fox, where the Trump campaign desperately believes that they can get over the line by the people who, frankly, are not going to tell the pollsters what they're going to do because they fear, well, the consequences of telling anyone that they will vote exactly the way as they did 4 years ago.
In his first public Washington appearance since the pandemic, Joe Biden traveled to the Capitol today to pay his respects to civil rights icon John Lewis. While he is not campaigning today, with just 99 days until the election, his campaign is still fielding speculation about a vice presidential pick. While Biden maintains a 9% advantage in the Real Clear Politics average of polls, he suffers an enthusiasm gap. A new AP poll finds just 31% of his supporters say they're excited, compared to 42% of Trump supporters. And a second factor gives hope to the GOP.
Asked by Fox News' Chris Wallace whether the former vice president would be available for a lengthy sit-down interview of the sort that Wallace did with the president just last week, the Biden camp declined again.
So, Mark, we've got to imagine that, well, there is this secret vote that's out there, because in every other indication it doesn't seem to be there. That said, the media is not really able to present an awful lot of people who can say, hey, I loved this guy 4 years ago, I voted for him 4 years ago and I won't vote for him now. Instead, it's people who hated him 4 years ago who hate him, well, even more 4 years later.
Well, you know, their political system is so fundamentally divided. We also know the polls aren't all that reliable. 9% is nothing compared to where he was against Hillary at the same stage 4 years ago. You know, I suppose I look at the United States increasingly and think, well, you know, it was the world's greatest democracy. But now the level of division and vitriol and Trump derangement syndrome in particular has meant that it's some sort of circus game now, isn't it? It's a freak show watching American politics, and that footage kind of confirms it. So it's a sad, sad thing, I think, for the principles and status of democracy around the world that this has happened. What will happen in November? Well, you know, Trump will mobilise his base, I think, a lot stronger than Biden. One of Bernie Sanders' campaign chiefs has come out and said that voting for Biden's the equivalent of eating your own crap. So that doesn't sound too enticing for Biden's prospects. So, you know, I think Trump will mobilise the vote. It's voluntary voting. They'll get out for him. It's a volatile system because it is so divided. You know, you really need to tune in late October to try and work out what's going on over there. But my general feeling is, watching the coverage, and, you know, the Australian TV coverage about Trump's just off the radar. You know, these people, I don't know whether they, you know, journalism degree's not worth anything now. I mean, it's more that it's derangement on steroids that you get on Channel 9 and 10 and the like. It's really off the radar. So you can only look on in wonderment, in sadness, in large part, and check in to see what's happening in late October.
Nicholas, just in political campaign terms here, right? And I know the United States has 50 different campaigns and then the dozens of campaigns in the different states. So I get that it's a complicated question. But do you think that the Democrats are going to be able to produce former Trump supporters who, you know, the photos are there, their Facebook feeds are there, that have changed their mind in 4 years? Because I think if they are assuming that voter turnout will surge on the hate Trump factor, I think that's dangerous, because the intensity is not there for Biden. Now, if there are more people in more states, in the right states, he wins, right? But intensity is always a lead indicator of what's going to happen in an election where it's non-compulsory voting. And intensity, by a massive margin, is not there with Biden.
Yeah, I agree. That is a worry for Democrat strategists. When you've got a non-compulsory voting system, turnout becomes just as important as persuading people to vote for you. And if the passion's not there, then the worry for the Democrats, and this is exactly what happened to them last time with Hillary, is that too many Democrats stayed home. That's why she didn't win. There are a couple of factors this time that I think are different. I think there is a lot of anger out there in America towards Trump. So the numbers you just showed there was enthusiasm for Biden, enthusiasm for Trump. The number I think that we need to go and have a look at is the enthusiasm or hatred towards Trump, which I think is quite significant, and that's going to get people not to vote for Biden, but to vote for Biden because they're voting against Trump. The other critical factor here is I think black voters will turn out in large numbers this time. The whole Black Lives Matters thing means that they are a very fired-up community in the US, and I think they're going to turn out, and they overwhelmingly vote Democrat. And the final thing is there's a great
You think they shut it out last time?
That's worked out so well.
Called Republicans Against Trump. I'll send you the link, Paul. You can put it up on your Facebook page, and we should discuss it next week.
I get it. The never Trumpers, yeah.
The never Trumpers who didn't get a job with this administration. Yeah, we're aware of them, Nicholas.
It's what's known as a ball terror, okay? Like, wait till you see this ad of these former, Republican voters.
We've seen it. We've seen it. It's underwhelming. We've seen it. It's not incredible. It's pretty pathetic, in fact. And we've seen it. I think it's amusing that you think this is news to us, really. No, we've seen it, and it's pathetic. It's a bunch of absolute losers. Yeah. Many of them who applied for jobs with the Trump administration were knocked back, and suddenly they're anti-Trumpers. Like, we give us stuff.